So, top of the morning, people, top of the morning. So, I saw, as you saw on the thumbnail, that ATARI has a new gaming system, the ATARI Game Station, handheld. Now, this game system, for what I know, the video that I saw, I watched a couple of videos. One was more insightful than the others, but there was a lot of information I still don't have. It does have an HDMI, so you can plug it to your TV and play it. The game comes with 200. It comes with 200 games already installed, pre-installed. And the price is $149.99. Now, I know whoever the guy was, I do not remember his name. I do not know the content creator. I don't even remember seeing this content creator before. But he basically asked a question about, it's like new games, exclusives. And basically, the guy never really said yes, but he just said they have a lot of big things going on, and they pretty much, to narrow it down, what I got from him, from the words that the guy said, because I don't want to just sit here and paraphrase the whole thing. He basically was saying, like, they have a lot of remastered games. I saw another video of some guys that was playing other games, and I'm saying, okay, wait a minute, how do they have their hands on these exclusives? Like, because I've seen people do that with different games, where somehow they get it, but other people don't. But what ends up happening with this guy, he said that they pretty much, I don't think that they were playing, that's the thing, they wasn't playing games from this new system. They were playing older games. And ATARI has different versions, different type of handhelds from the past. Now, the ATARI Lynx was like their version of, like what Game Boy was to Nintendo back in the day. But ATARI has different, like, little handhelds and everything. Nothing like this one. And for this system, like I said before, I made a video talking about, there is an interest and there's a lot of room for retro games. In fact, if you look at a huge portion of Nintendo's library, they have many retro games. Now, I'm not like everything, I'm not like retro crazy. That's not what it is with me. But there are retro games that I like. Now, I don't find myself really wanting to play the retro games like I once did as a kid. For example, Contra, that was my game. I loved Contra, right? Now, the latest Contra that they made is really fun, and it's hard. And me and my son, we beat that game together. That game was so hard, but it was so fun at the same time. Now, somebody old school would say, it's not as good as the original. Personally, I don't really compare. I have no reason to compare. What was in the past is in the past. Some people are just locked in. They don't give something a chance because they're just so old school. It's like you have that group, that singer, that rapper, that whoever, that musician that was famous back in the day, got a lot of hits. They make a new album, right? And people go to the show and come back and say, I don't want to hear that new stuff, man. I just want to hear the old stuff, right? So that's just the way a lot of people are. That's just, people are who they are. But in that sense, no, for me, I prefer, like, give me something retro, but give me something that's more than like an arcade experience. Like, when people, certain games, like, let's take Retromania, for example. The people at RetroSoft had that same mentality. It's like pick up and play. It reminds me of back in the day when we went to the arcade and played WrestleFest and Wrestling Superstars. Now, the reality is they have more moves on Retromania than WrestleFest and Wrestling Superstars. They have way more moves, and they have more wrestlers, even though they don't have a lot of wrestlers. They only have, right now, I think about 17. And they have a 5 DLC pack coming soon. So no, they have no women at all. They only have the NWA World Championship, no United States, no TV title, no tag team yet, titles yet. So yeah, I mean, like, I've gotten used to playing games that include women, multiple titles and things like that. I mean, give us more than an arcade experience. That doesn't work now. It's not because it's retro, it's because the arcade style, you're not going to stand up and play a game in an arcade that's going to take you 2-3 hours to beat. Okay, video games now, you got games that'll tell you this game is about 140 hours. Like, damn, like there's a lot to do. It's a wrestling game. No, we don't need 148 hours of a wrestling game to play, But the modes, they're adding 2 more modes to what they already have. And I've heard people say, Retromania couldn't light a match next to WrestleFest and a wrestling superstar. Like, yeah, okay, it's pretty much almost the same game, play style wise. Yeah, it was inspired by those 2 games, but it has way more on it. So I know that there were people that was disgruntled simply because they did promise us things that they didn't deliver. And basically, it was pretty much they finally had to give us Chris Bay, but no Mr. Hughes and no Cowboy James Storm at that point. Then they finally did it. So don't use the P word if you can't deliver on it. But the people at RetroSoft get that now. They understand it. Like, nah, this doesn't work anymore. You can't just give, because for the people that bought it, they liked it, myself included. The issue with the game is, man, they don't have enough wrestlers. You cannot give a game with 16 people on it anymore. That's you can't. You got it, and you figure this, right? What wrestling games did in the past, and basically, if you go by the past, any WWE has had, of course, more games than anybody else with wrestling. Like, there's no one single company that has more wrestling games out than the WWE does. So with them, there was times they put like a handful of females on there, and it's like, this isn't a division, man. I'm talking, go back to the Braun Panty matches type thing, Stacy Keeblers and Tori Wilson and Trish and all of them. So it wasn't really taken serious. It's like they just put them on there, but there was really nothing. And if you go back and you look at anything that people played from back then, like the content creators right now, it's more like it's just something to do. But they don't find themselves really playing these games like on a regular basis. And they'll tell you, like, well, I play this, I record it to record this, that. I do play so, I can do good in the game while we're playing or whatever. And some people, not saying that people don't generally like those games, but when things evolve and things get better, like, I'm not stuck in any time zone, like, I only like games from, no, I only like football, or I only like basketball. You have a lot of people like that, or I only like this company, that company, whatever. And of course, someone has to, this is the new Nintendo killer. Hey, man, guys, stop lying to yourself. Like I said before, nothing's going to kill the Nintendo Switch other than Nintendo itself. Nothing's going to kill Samsung other than Samsung. Nothing's going to kill Apple iPhone other than Apple iPhone. There's nothing that's going to come out and all of a sudden, okay, this game system is over. I mean, people tried that same nonsense with the Steam Deck. This game is more focused on retro games, basically old Atari games that they remastered, and pretty much when the guy asked about new content, like new games, he didn't really go into anything, and even you didn't have to go into anything. It's a simple yes or no question, and when people don't say, oh, absolutely, or right away, it's not really so much the focus. Maybe they have something planned, they don't want to say it right now until they know for sure how things are going to work. Now, he did say that the system it does get firmware updates. I noticed they have like a little thumbstick, little throttle, and they have the control pad, and they have like a little ball, like a little direction, little ball. And on the other side, I noticed that they have with the regular buttons, like they has 2 bumpers on the top, and there's actual numbers, like from like 1 through 0 through like 9. So I was wondering, because what I didn't hear him say was, do they have like an online store, like eShop, or how Microsoft has their store, like where you can buy games online. I don't know anything about storage space. He didn't talk about any of that. And for this system to be able to even, not that they're even focusing on Nintendo, it's just people say this stuff. But for this system to even be able to compete, to be on a level where it's selling millions and millions of units, it's gonna have to, have it on some type of store where you can get new games. And when you hear retro, it doesn't necessarily mean everything's gonna have that 8 to 16 bit pixelated look. That's not necessarily what it means. But whatever Atari games that they had that were big hits, to remaster them and make them look better. Like if you see the Tecmo Bowl that the Tecmo Bowl game that they made, where you can play it with the old 16-bit look, or you can play it with an updated look. I like the updated look much better. Now, once again, someone that's so stuck in that era will go, nah, nothing beats the old school or whatever. So it's one of those things. For me, like I said, I'm all about the new. I have love for what was, and yeah, man. I mean, yeah, I have Punch Out. I forget that I even have Punch Out. I have Double Dragon. I forget that I have that at times. Not that the games aren't good. Yeah, they are what they are. But and that's why I have an appreciation for people that do play these old games. They do have videos where they'll just going through, playing the games through. And, because everything, there's certain things that I might not really be so enthused about as far as me doing it myself, but others do it. And, yeah, and that's what makes it fun. I mean, who knew back in the day we'd have a time where people are actually going online, playing games, and the games that you had back in the days, at some point you feel like, man, remember this, remember that, and then all of a sudden they bring them back. So, from what I'm getting from Atari, from whoever this guy was speaking, it's not so much focused on exclusives right now. But there's no way, there is a lane for retro gaming. There's a huge interest. Like I said, if you go on TikTok, all these other platforms where they're playing, Twitch and all of that, they're playing these games. And you're not going to continue to make retro gaming style gaming if they're not selling. That should be common sense to anyone. But in terms of how this system will be received, it's the way I see it, this is directed strictly for people that grew up playing Atari. And the only thing I really saw was a few seconds of someone playing pinball. It was some shooting game that had definitely that old school retro look. But yeah, I mean, hey man, without the whole comparing it to the Switch or to any other handheld, hey man, I hope they do well. I hope whoever is interested in this system is enjoying the system when it comes out. It says it's coming out in the third quarter of this year. So hey, but in terms of new games and having exclusives, that's a must for a new system that comes out. And for it to compete, to really be taken seriously, put it that way. Because if you look even on these different platforms where they're selling these handhelds, this one has 50,000 games. Now, from 5,000 all the way up to 50,000 games. What most of those systems have in common is that more than half of those games are on each other's platform. What they all have in common is all of the games don't work on various platforms, and they're not exclusives. So, and you have some right now, they're saying that it costs this much, but get it now for $39.99 or whatever. Listen, you do know that indies games cannot deliver what a AAA game or AAA, AA studios can deliver. So it's one of these things where it can work and it will have its audience. But once again, as far as how much it sells, that's not for me to determine. Just looking with common sense. I mean, sometimes things happen and it worked better than you thought. But looking at it without exclusives, this is the era we're in. If whatever system you have don't have exclusives and your system can't compete, if people are saying that the new Switch is going to be this and this because graphically that's where it can't compete with Xbox and PlayStation, well, this system won't be as strong as the Switch. So if that's an issue, well, outside of retro gaming fans, who's not going to complain about the graphics? You see what I'm saying? People complain about everything. So this is something that people should understand. The game is what it is. We don't have to have it in our hands to know $149.99 system in this day and age is not going to be able to do what the Switch does. It's not going to be able to do what the Xbox and the PlayStation does, for sure. But I wish them well, man. And when I get more information on it, I'll talk about it. So anyway, that's all I got for you guys now. Catch you on the next one.